When it comes to Hollywood's messy legal battles, nothing serves more drama than when a beloved A-lister like Blake Lively finds herself tangled up in lawsuits, subpoenas, and courtroom chaos. And let me tell you, this entire situation has spiraled so far beyond control that even the judge is probably rolling his eyes every time another motion hits the docket. It is no longer about justice. It is about lawyers acting like divas, celebrities trying to spin the narrative, and a courtroom that has turned into a stage for public humiliation. So, what exactly happened here? Why are Blake Lively's lawyers being accused of turning the legal process into a spectacle? And why is her co-star Isabella Ferrer suddenly at the center of this circus? Grab your popcorn, because this is not the clean-cut gossip girl image Blake has built her career on. This is pure courtroom chaos, and it is not looking good for her. Let us start with the subpoena drama. Isabella Ferrer, who starred alongside Blake in It Ends With Us, wanted nothing to do with this case. She made it very clear she was not about to be dragged into the courtroom soap opera between Blake's camp and Justin Baldoni's side. But here's the problem. Blake's own team had already subpoenaed her. She complied. She handed over what she was required to, but apparently not enough to satisfy the opposing attorneys. And that is where Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, comes into the picture. He wanted additional information, and naturally, he tried to serve her again. Now, here is where it gets messy. Isabella's lawyers flat out refused to accept service on her behalf. Twice. And instead of simply acknowledging the subpoena and fighting it through the proper channels, they decided to play games. They claimed Justin's side was harassing her, painting Isabella as some poor, innocent actress being chased down unfairly. But the truth? She was dodging service like a pro. And when lawyers start playing hide and seek instead of handling business, it only makes their client look worse. To make things even more ridiculous, Isabella's team filed a 23-page opposition to a motion for alternate service. For context, these motions are usually 3 to 4 pages max, but her attorneys went all out, filing what Friedman himself called a robust opposition to an issue that is, in the grand scheme of things, tiny. It was so over the top, it almost read like satire. And of course, the more pages they added, the higher the legal fees stacked. So why go through all of this? Well, it turns out Isabella has an indemnity issue with the production company. She wants them to pay for her legal bills. And apparently, they are willing to cover her, but only if she complies properly with the subpoena process. Instead of quietly handling this, her team decided to spin it into a melodrama about harassment and duplicative subpoenas. They even dragged Justin Baldoni's name through the mud in filings that had nothing to do with him directly. It was sloppy, unprofessional, and beyond unnecessary. Now, anyone with a legal background will tell you the way this was handled is laughable. If Isabella really had objections, the correct move would have been to accept the subpoena first and then file objections under the proper rules. But by refusing to even accept service and simultaneously arguing the merits of the subpoena, her lawyers may have actually waived her right to object at all. And Friedman, being the shark that he is, pointed that out immediately. This could end up backfiring badly on Isabella, and by extension, Blake. But wait, it gets even juicier. In these filings, Isabella's team suggested that she was being extorted by the other parties. They claimed the production side was telling her she could only get indemnity if she accepted service, and that this was somehow coercive. But if you look at the emails, there was never a quid pro quo stated. The lawyers were simply asking over and over again, "Are you going to accept service?" That is it. No threats, no conditions. Yet Isabella's team twisted it into a narrative that sounded like extortion. And if that is not enough, buried in one of the communications was a little bombshell. Isabella's lawyers hinted that if they did not get their way, they would file a separate lawsuit against Baldoni. That is right. They actually suggested that a discrimination or harassment claim might be coming down the pipeline. Now, whether they were serious or bluffing, that is a dangerous move. Threatening to sue someone unless you get what you want can be considered civil extortion, and that is flat out illegal. So, let us pause here. On one side, you have Blake Lively's camp pushing this narrative of being the victim of harassment. On the other side, you have Justin Baldoni's lawyer staying calm, pointing out the contradictions, and quietly suggesting the other side is playing dirty. And in the middle, you have Isabella, who just wanted to stay out of this, but now looks like she is dodging service and maybe even participating in questionable legal tactics. It is a mess, and Blake's team looks like the ringmasters of this circus. But Isabella is not the only problem. Blake's own legal strategy has been raising eyebrows. In a separate motion, her team asked for sanctions against Baldoni's lawyer. They claimed Friedman was improperly defending his client in the press and demanded not only that he be removed from the case, but also that Baldoni's side pay their legal fees. Imagine the audacity. They literally tried to silence the opposing lawyer for doing interviews and giving his perspective. And here is where karma comes back to bite. Friedman responded with receipts. He pulled up 16 different examples of Blake's own spokespersons and lawyers doing the exact same thing, spinning narratives in the media to paint Baldoni as an abuser and a harasser. He basically said, "If you are going to accuse me of playing to the press, take a look in the mirror." It was a brilliant move, and it completely undercut Blake's claims. Even the judge has previously ruled that both sides are allowed to make statements to the press as long as they do not violate specific gag orders. So Blake's attempt to sanction the other side for behavior she herself was engaged in looked hypocritical at best and desperate at worst. What this all adds up to is a legal strategy that is starting to unravel. Blake's lawyers are overreaching, filing excessive motions, and acting like tattletales in court. They are exhausting the judge's patience and making Blake look like she is hiding behind frivolous legal maneuvers instead of fighting the case on its merits. And let us not forget, this is not happening in a vacuum. Blake is a public figure with a carefully curated image. For years, she has been America's sweetheart, the stylish star with the perfect marriage to Ryan Reynolds and the picture-perfect family. But this legal mess is chipping away at that image. When Deadline, a publication that has historically been favorable to her, publishes a headline calling her tone-deaf, you know the tide is turning. Even her allies in the press are starting to question her decisions. The truth is, this entire fiasco is exposing cracks in Blake's empire. It is showing the world that behind the glamorous gowns and charming interviews, there is a team making sloppy legal decisions and a star who might be in over her head. And Hollywood has a long history of turning on its golden girls the moment their shine starts to fade. As for Isabella Ferrer, this may damage her far more than she anticipated. Instead of staying neutral, her involvement has now been magnified. And if it comes out that her team really did threaten to file baseless lawsuits as leverage, her reputation could take a serious hit. Studios do not like actors who bring unnecessary baggage, and this is the kind of baggage that can stall a rising career. At the end of the day, the only winners here are the lawyers billing by the hour. Everyone else is walking away with bruises. Blake Lively's image is taking a beating. Isabella Ferrer looks like she is playing games, and Justin Baldoni, while holding his ground, is still stuck in the middle of a messy courtroom war. And the worst part? This trial is not anywhere near over. There are hundreds of filings already, and the docket is so cluttered the judge might need a personal assistant just to keep track. If this pace continues, Blake's name will be in the headlines for all the wrong reasons for months, maybe years to come. The question now is, can she pull it back? Can her team stop the bleeding and handle this case with professionalism instead of melodrama? Or is Blake destined to be remembered not just as a star of beloved rom-coms and dramas, but as the celebrity who turned a courtroom into her own personal reality show? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, this saga is far from over, and the drama only seems to be escalating. Buckle up, because Hollywood loves nothing more than watching a golden girl fall from grace. So, if you thought Gossip Girl was wild, trust me, Blake's real life is proving to be even juicier. Stay tuned, because the scandals are only heating up.